Welcome to Never Ever Give Up Hope. With me today, I have Lafiro Gomez. He is a hemiplegic who became a full time author after having suffered a major stroke. Now, the stroke was just not an ordinary stroke, this nearly killed him and it left him paralyzed. But he survived. And he survived only to nearly die again due to a large ulcer. And he survived again. But he had to have his right leg amputated. How many of us could survive that? How many of us could survive that and still turn our lives around to become successful, to become an author, and to be able to help so many other people who have suffered trauma in their lives? Some of you will relate to his story today. Some of you will applaud him, and we all will appreciate him and for what he went through. I'm so excited and cannot wait to hear this story of hopelessness turned to hope.
Have you ever felt like giving up, quitting, throwing in the towel? Welcome to Never Ever Give Up Hope featuring Carol Graham. She's an author, health coach, and motivational speaker. Backed into a corner multiple times in her life, Carol shares with you stories on how she overcame some of the toughest obstacles a person can go through in life, but refused to give up hope. Rather than admit defeat, an opportunity was presented, and it involves each and every one of you. Carol will feature spectacular guests who will share their messages of hope, encouragement, and their inspiration to prove why life's adversities only make you stronger. And now, welcoming the host of the show, here's Carol Graham.
Welcome, Lafiro. How are you today?
Pretty good in yourself.
That's good. Well, I read a little bit of what you had gone through in the opening part of this show. And this is a story that I know is going to touch my heart. And I so appreciate that you will share that with my audience because it's a story of never giving up. It's a story of tenacity, perseverance, and never stopping. Like, even though all these things happened to you, you just kept going. So we are looking forward to that. But before we hear that part of your story, could you tell us a little bit about your life before you had the stroke?
Sure. I was an only child. I grew up on a ranch. It was a 30-acre ranch, and so I didn't have any neighbors nearby that I could play, with the neighborhood kids or stuff like that. So I ended up growing up with my books, and my books that were my brothers and sisters. Um, I grew up having a wonderful imagination, being able to read,
Mm.
uh, you know, having all kinds of literature to read as well. I read about ghost stories and mythologies and classic literature, and it was a great childhood, even though I didn't have any children to play with, so to speak. Of course, started writing. Um, I started reading around the age of 2 and started writing around the age of 6. And I started writing stories around the age of 9. I submitted a couple of stories towards to a local television station. They sent me a letter back, told me they were very interested in my stories and filming one of them, and so they invited me in toward to the TV station. We would did a tour and everything. It was very interesting, very enlightening, and they filmed the story, and then also did an interview with me online on TV. They broadcasted the story, and they also got other children, local children, to submit their stories and their film their stories.
What
And
kind
they
of
were
story
broadcast.
was it?
It was called Myth or Fact, and what it was basically this gentleman goes in search of his mythical creature, and he finds it, and turns out that he may have been related to this mythical creature. It was called the Cochicata, was very ethnic sounding creature.
And how old were you at this time?
9.
Oh my goodness. Okay, go ahead.
I had that filmed, and I kept on writing. I I kind of eased up on writing because, of course, I had school and stuff, and then I went to college, and so. But I still recorded. I still wrote my stories on the side, but mainly focusing on my own. After college, I came back home. I was dealing with some health issues. Problem was that I was diabetic, as well as dealing with high blood pressure. Uh, so I had to kind of ease up on going to college. Had to come back down. I went to what it was. I went to a college called Williams College in Massachusetts, and so I had to come back down from Massachusetts back down home here in San Antonio. After college, I still kept writing. I would go to creative writing classes. Would go to writing workshops and kind of uh, get get better at writing through there. And I'm sorry if I'm not exactly very clear. I'm not very eloquent in my speech right now. I'm much better at writing than I am at speech right now because of the stroke.
Absolutely, I understand, and I think you're doing an awesome job. I really appreciate you sharing this. So continue.
Okay, so I went. I started working for the IRS. Now I was continuing writing uh, on the side after I would go to after work. I got married um, and moved to Austin and got a different position working there at the IRS in Austin. I found I ended up getting divorced, bought a house, and I took on a friend as a housemate, and that's kind of like where the story of my stroke began.
Okay, all right. I appreciate that. So, in other words, you were living a fulfilled, busy life, full-time job, a writer. There was maybe some health issues, but you certainly never expected to go through what you did go through. Now, tell us before we share that part of the story, what were you always the type of person who was, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, tenacious, never giving up.
Oh yeah, I mean, I always did well in school. I had my own house, a good career. I had I bought my own house. It was a foreclosed house, but I ended up working on it, uh, wo- working on it, bringing it up to speed, and making it look and smell good. So I always worked hard at everything that I tried to do. try my best to do for everything. So I guess you could say yes. I was that tenacious type.
So then what happened?
It was September 29th, 2014. I had just gone to bed. It was at 11 o'clock at night, and I started to feel kind of odd. I thought I was going to go vomit or something. And so I was going to try to get out of bed, and I tried to stand, and I just crumpled to the floor. And I was wondering what's going on. Why am I feeling this way? I tried to stand, and I couldn't. And I figured something's wrong. I'm gonna need some help with this. So I tried calling out to my friend Ben, and Ben Davis is his name. I tried calling his name several times, but his name would never come out. The best I could come out with was a friend, instead of his name
Hmm.
Ben.
Hmm.
And so I tried to go to the door, open up the door, and I like I said, I couldn't stand. My whole left side wasn't working at all, and I was falling down, face down on the carpet, and I knew then that if I don't start getting up soon, I'm
Mm.
going to end up suffocating on the carpet. My phone had fallen to the side, so I didn't even have my phone to be able to make a call or anything. He was downstairs watching the movie, and luckily he finished watching it, whatever he was watching, came upstairs, and I mustered all the strength that I could, and actually said his name, Ben. And
Oh, wow.
thankfully he heard me, and he opened the door, and he saw me, and he must have known that something was wrong, because he called 911. Um, the EMTs came in, put me onto the stretcher, um, brought me down from the second floor and into the ambulance. And once I was in the ambulance, I was taken to the ER room, and that was it. That's all I remembered after that. I was out for
Hmm.
2 weeks.
You were in a coma for 2 weeks?
It was kind of like it was kind of weird because I felt like I was in a like almost like in a different alternate universe or something. You know,
Okay.
I could sense what was going on, but it was different other than what what it actually
Hmm.
was. So 2 weeks after that, I woke up, and I remember the first thing. My former boss was in the room talking to my dad, and they were talking to each other, and I wasn't understanding what they were saying, but to me, I took it as they were making a truce between vampires and werewolves, and I was trying to tell my dad, "No, Dad, don't do it. Don't make it this truce with vampires and werewolves." And so, but that's just the way your mind plays with things
Wow.
when you're in a stroke. Um, it it doesn't quite hear things right, and you can't really speak things right either. You can just speak gibberish, and that's pretty much where I was. I was just speaking gibberish, so they were just ignoring me because they knew that they weren't going to be able to understand me anyway.
Hmm. Hmm. How long did that period last?
Probably a week or two.
Okay.
Yeah, because it no, I was I was in that sort of trance, waking up off and on from the stroke, and they sent me over to a rehab center called Warm Springs here in San Antonio, and they did a really good job of trying to get me back into walking, to speaking right, and and I apologize for my speech. It's not quite as as good as it usually is, but anyway, they were working on that, and we're working on my speech, and it was starting to get to the point that I was really getting frustrated because they would bring my food, and they would give me a spoonful of food. They would say, "Okay, open your mouth, chew, okay, now open your mouth again, say ah." And they would do that for each and every single bite. It was, it was really annoying after a
No
while.
kidding. Oh, wow.
But my dad was finally like, you know what? Let me go and take care of this because um, he'll respond better to me. And what he would do is he would give me food. He would give me a spoonful of food, and then he would tell me different questions on trivia, and
To stimulate you.
yeah, and also he knew that once I would open my mouth and would respond, whatever question he asked, like if it's if I answered, oh, it's Jimi Hendrix or it's Led Zeppelin or because we liked doing trivia on music and movies, and so he knew that if I did that, then that um, I was done eating my food.
So, in other words, you had to learn patience
Yes,
and you had to, which I guess would probably be one of the most difficult. What were some of the other things, the frustrations that you had to deal with and how you actually got through that?
I guess the biggest frustration was having to ask for help because
That's
uh,
huge.
yeah, I was used to taking care of myself. Like I said, I had my own car, my own house. I had a good job. You know, I could do anything that I wanted to do on my own. And now having to ask for help for everything. You know, whether it means having to help with eating food, or having to having help with going to the restroom, or anything really, and you know, and I think a lot of people don't realize, when you're helping a special needs person, they may be trying to reach for something, and that something is out of their reach, and uh, you may think that, oh, it's in within reach because I can
Mhm.
reach it,
Mhm.
but it's not within the reach of that special needs person.
So now this was still the first stroke though, correct?
Yes.
Then you survived that and you had the second stroke. How
Well,
long how go ahead.
I had a big stroke and several mini strokes after that.
Okay.
Uh, but I didn't have another stroke after that. What happened was I uh, I had a I went home because the insurance didn't want to pay for it anymore. Um, and I went into nursing homes, and my parents were like, "No, we're not gonna keep you in this nursing home. We're gonna just gonna take care of you at home." So my parents were taking care of me, but and I was doing fine. I was doing great. I had a electrical wheelchair. I was able to get in it and out of it, and and go to the table and eat and stuff. And I ended up developing an ulcer, and it was an ulcer with gangrene.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness.
yeah. So I had to go to the hospital again because of that. And I again went to, I guess, kind of like an induced coma, um, because of morphine, heavily induced.
Okay.
Once again, I I had a sense of everything all around me, but I didn't really, wasn't exactly um, aware of
Yes.
everything.
Yes. Again, you survived. And this is, did you at that point have to have your leg amputated when you were in the hospital with the ulcer, or was that another?
It was a little bit later than that. What happened was they they had at first had told my parents, we're not sure he's going to make it again. You know, we'll just wait and see how he turns out and go from there. But I survived, went home, and no, I was in the hospital. A infection on my right heel, and the I remember the doctor came in. I was with my parents in the hospital. The doctor came in. He said, well, I was in some bad news. You have an infection on your right heel, and it seems like we're gonna have to amputate the the right leg up to the knee. And I said, is that something you want to go with? I said, well, if you got to do it, you got to do it. I mean, nothing to it. I mean, if I'm going to survive, then you need to be able to do it. And I guess he was expecting me to be upset or something, but I figured, well, I mean, I'm going to survive. I got to be there for my parents, for my family. So, if they have to amputate, then oh well. I'll have them do it. And so they went in, I'm amputated, and this is my good leg too. This is
Oh,
the one I
wow.
really stand on, and so they had to go in and amputate it.
So right now, are you able to get around, or is you have a wheelchair? Can you use a cane,
I have
a
a wheel.
crutches? Okay.
I have a wheelchair, but I'm bed bound because
Okay.
yeah, because I can't. I don't have a leg to stand on, literally.
Okay. Well, you got a sense of humor. That's amazing. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a short break, and then I'm going to ask you what advice you can give to people who have gone through trauma. I mean, extreme trauma and physical trauma in particular, and how you survived, and what you would suggest or give them tips on how they too can keep a positive attitude. So we'll be right back after this short message.
Carol Graham would like to show you the path from misery to miraculous triumph in her fast paced memoir, Battered Hope. She relates her determination to succeed as someone who experienced one horrendous nightmare after another: gang raped and left for dead, loss of a child, husband falsely imprisoned, and cancer. Nothing could break her tenacity or faith. No matter what you face, heartache, loss, suffering, or injustice, Carol will illustrate how she became a victor the same way you can. The secret is to never, ever give up hope. Order your copy at Amazon or batteredhope.blogspot.com.
Well, that was quite the story. And as I mentioned before the break, I'm sure that there are people who have gone through a lot and they will be able to relate. But one of the questions I have for you is, did you throw a lot of pity parties for yourself, or did you just try to look to the bright side, or try, like you said, that you have to stay alive for the sake of your parents? Like, where was your attitude in all of this?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Uh, of course, I would, just like anyone else, I would throw myself my, pity parties. Then I would, once I got past all that, I started thinking, well, you know what? I've got to be there for my parents. I've got to be there for my family. You know, I, uh, I can't just be here stuck on myself, uh, thinking that the world around revolves around me. So I've got to keep on going, keep going forward, and do better than to where I was before.
So, what kind of helps did you have to do that? What did you, besides talking to yourself, like did you have therapy, or what can someone do who finds themselves in that position? Do you have any tips for them?
If you have family, if you have friends, talk to them. Um, Certainly be open to being able to talk to them, letting them know how you feel. Um, because that's what I did. I had my family that I could talk to and depend on for going through stuff like this. Um, they would, you know, get me through all of this. So, definitely talk to them. And then if you don't have anyone, talk to yourself. You have to talk to yourself about,
Good advice.
yeah, if you have to talk to yourself to, making yourself go through this, go and have your little pity party. But once you're done, then say, oh, okay, all right, now I'm gonna do better. Now I'm gonna do better than I did before, because this is the only way I'm gonna be able to get up and do stuff is by actually doing something.
So you were your own best friend, basically.
Pretty much.
And did you continue to write, or did you at this point just pick up writing again?
I had stopped writing for a while just because um, I was really depressed. I was just sleeping all day and then sleeping all night, and so um, it was just a repeating cycle of me um, not doing anything. And finally, it was my family came and told me, you know, well, why don't you start writing? You used to love writing so much. Why don't you
Hmm.
pick up writing again? I said, well, it's kind of difficult typing with one hand, you know, and but I ended up finding a way to be able to type by writing using Microsoft Word on my phone and one thumb, and so that's how I ended up uh, writing my three novels.
Well,
Yeah,
that takes a lot of stamina to be able to do that with at that pace and be able to finish two novels. So tell us a little bit about your novels. And also before that, did you ever write your story?
even like an autobiographical story.
Yes, or
Uh,
memoir.
no, no, I never did that. I'm not really much of a nonfiction person. I've always
Okay,
been more
okay.
into fiction.
So tell
So,
us about your books.
first book is Parachute Island, and it's about this girl, Megan. She's a 14-year-old girl, and she finds herself in a parachute drifting down towards this island. And she arrives on the island, and it's populated by by children. There's nothing but children living on this island. And she finds out that um, uh, all the children have died and are living in the afterlife on this island because they are don't have anyone else uh, care for them while they're in the afterlife. So they're waiting on this island until someone else comes dies and can care for them in the afterlife. There is one adult on the island. His name is David, and he's kind of like caretaker of the children. And she meets and she makes a cute couple of friends. One of them is this wonderful little guy called Ham. You know, he's a 10-year-old rotund little boy, and he's very playful, very energetic. Um, she comes across some uh, other children she makes friends with, and the island grants a one wish for a child every day, and so they can wish for just about anything. You know, they can wish for they want to fly uh, airplanes. They can play airplanes. If they want to have play with puppies, they can play with puppies. You know, they can wish for just about anything. And Megan has a secret wish that's something that no one has ever wished for before, and that's where I'll kind of leave it from there because there's going to be a major twist
Okay.
uh,
And
on it. So
and what about the second one?
the second one is called the Valiants, and it's about these four friends, college friends. They live in go to school in this New England college. They had another friend who seemingly killed himself, um, committed suicide, and he uh, he left him a box with a letter telling him not to open it up until 1 year later. And the year goes up, and they're ready to open up the box. And that's kind of like where I'll leave from there because there's a major plot twist as well.
And your next book?
Um, I just finished actually publishing it. It's called The Quiet. It's about this family lives on the ranch with the crew, with their ranch crew, and something's happened to the entire world where people are disappearing. Uh, nothing, machines just stop working. Nothing works. Um, and so they're experiencing all kinds of weird, weird goings on while they're on the ranch. It's a sci-fi horror kind of
Oh,
novel.
okay. Well, those who are looking for those that kind of book, that's something to definitely check into as well as your other books. If so, would they be sci-fi fiction? Is that the category?
The first two are fantasy.
Okay.
The third one is sci-fi horror.
Okay. Okay, got you. Well, you are an inspiration. The very fact that you are still writing and enjoying life to its fullest that you can do right now with a positive attitude, that is to be applauded, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate you sharing your story. I hope that this is an encouragement for our listeners. Is there anything else that you would like to say in closing, just about anything about your books or how to reach you, or just an encouraging word?
Yeah, definitely never give up hope. You know, there's always a silver lining to every dark cloud. Um, just got to look for it and find it. Um, but yeah, definitely never give up hope.
What I pick up from you is that you have to push yourself a lot. And, whether it is for physical or mental, emotional. And I think that in itself is a message to never give up. No matter how hard you have to push yourself, there's going to be a reward. And that's what I'm hearing you say. Would you say that that sums it up?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. Thank you so much for being on Never Ever Give Up Hope, and we look forward to your next book. Bye-bye
Thank
for
you.
now.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Never Ever Give Up Hope, featuring Carol Graham. Did you know that most people succeed because they are determined to? Quitting was never an option. Carol loves your comments and will respond to each one. So please subscribe and review this podcast. A rating of 5 stars would be outstanding and appreciated. Remember, if you are still here, there is always hope.